Next to Godliness by Diane Kimbrell. When I was growing up, I often dreamed of killing other mama. In one dream, I boiled her head in a huge cauldron over an open flame. One could never please other mama, and she would often make hateful, insulting comments to those she loved the most. Mama claimed she had the tongue of an adder. But I loved her dearly. Everyone did, in spite of her way with words. Other mama was my mama's mama, my maternal grandmother. She'd lived with us for as far back as I could remember. I'm the youngest of 4 children, my mama's baby girl. Other mama was the only one in our family who could think straight when the family got into trouble, like when we didn't have any food in the house or couldn't make the house payment. And in those days, it seemed we were always in trouble. Other mama was the only one who knew how to cook. Mama only used the stove to light a cigarette when she couldn't find matches. Other mama wanted it that way. She was the head of our household, queen of the kitchen, and a devout Christian. When I was 15, Mama had to sell the house we lived in for 10 years due to financial problems. But we didn't leave the small town of Quicksand, North Carolina. In fact, we moved just a few miles down the road. As usual, other mama saved the day. She'd heard about a house for sale from a friend and called the man who built it. She then talked the man into letting us rent it with the option to buy. It was a ranch-style house built from old bricks that was located at the end of a long, bumpy dirt road near a lake. The house was brand new and looked fine from the outside, but on the inside, nothing worked right. The cheapest building materials had been used, and even the switch plates on the walls weren't screwed in on straight. The place reminded me of the fun house at the county fair. At first glance, the ceilings seemed sturdy, but we soon learned they were made out of a cardboard-type material. Days after we moved in, a panel in the kitchen ceiling started to bulge. Soon after, a small hole appeared. The landlord said he'd send somebody to fix it, but he didn't say when. I was sitting in the kitchen one night studying for a French test. The door was closed so the TV in the living room wouldn't bother me. Suddenly, although I was alone, I felt a presence. I looked around, thinking maybe our dog Tuffy was lying under the table, but she was nowhere in sight. I went back to conjugating verbs. Next, I heard a noise that sounded like someone chewing on something. When I looked up, the chewing noises stopped. I figured it might be my imagination. After all, we did live out in the country. Nights were filled with mysterious noises. But a few minutes later, the chewing started again. It seemed to be coming from the damaged ceiling above the refrigerator. I thought I saw little pieces of something fall out of the hole in the ceiling. I quietly got up from my chair and tiptoed across the kitchen. The opening in the ceiling panel seemed quite a bit larger than it had the day before. Without making a sound, I placed our step stool by the refrigerator and stood on it to get a better view. Our overhead kitchen light was dim. To save money, Mama rarely ever used more than a 40-watt bulb. Squinting into the semi-darkness to get a better look inside the hole, it took a minute to realize that two beady eyes were staring back at me. My screams brought everybody running. It was common knowledge that field rats, and I assumed that's what the creature was, could be as big as small dogs. The next day, the landlord plugged up the hole the rat had gnawed in the ceiling, but I never felt comfortable in that house again. I had to make the best of it, because other mamas said we must rise above adversity. I wasn't exactly sure what adversity meant, but I figured it had to do with Daddy. Daddy always had steady work, but he drank and gambled away most of what he earned. On Saturdays, I would mop and wax the floors and polish our cheap, modern mortgaged furniture to a shine. To the naked eye, I suppose the place looked presentable. The black and white kitchen floor tiles had been laid crooked, but that didn't bother me so much. It was the discolored tiles that nearly drove me mad. Some were so discolored, more yellow than white. The floor never looked clean. That's what led me to use Texize that day. I had no intention of killing other mama. I just wanted the floor to look nice. My girlfriends Nancy and Jill were coming to visit. I rarely had friends over. For one thing, I had very few friends, and for another, I was always afraid that Daddy would drive up drunk and make a scene. Not that he would be ugly to my friends. Au contraire, he would flirt with them, I'm sure. Such a scene was too horrifying for me to risk. Rather than suffer humiliation, I kept to myself most of the time. When I wasn't doing my homework or watching TV, I would go to my bedroom and listen to rock and roll on the radio and dance, do the shag with my partner, the bedpost. I would pretend that I was at a sock hop at school, dancing with Ward Laney, president of the student body. Ward was a champion shagger and the best-looking boy at school. Texize, a milky white all-purpose cleaner, had a fresh outdoor smell that I liked. We used it on the floors and the bathroom fixtures. Most of the time we diluted it with water because full strength it was way too strong. I had already mopped the kitchen floor once that day, but some of the tiles appeared to be dingier than ever, so I decided to mop it again. I had no idea that it was my own shame I was attempting to scrub away, and I wouldn't learn until years later that shame could never be removed, only managed. This time, instead of mixing the Texize in the bucket of water, I decided to pour some in a smaller container. I found an old purple flowered jelly glass under the kitchen sink, poured about 1/4 of a cup of Texize into the glass, then added water. It occurred to me that it looked like a glass of milk, but at the time I thought no more about it because it sure didn't smell like milk. Even though it was diluted, one whiff burned my nostrils, making them feel downright raw. I poured a small amount of the Texize on the middle section of the kitchen floor, then took the mop to it. Maybe this was just what it needed. More Texize, more muscle. The tiles began to appear a little brighter. I was about to pour more on the next section when Mama called me to the phone. It was my friend Nancy confirming directions to our house. Just as I was about to leave the kitchen, other Mama came in through the back door. "Careful," I warned. "Floor's wet." "That's Texize in the glass. Leave it on the table. I'll be right back." Other Mama had a habit of coming behind you and undoing whatever you'd done. Like, if I hadn't told her to leave the glass alone, she would have probably poured the contents out. That was just Other Mama's way. She always wanted everything in its place. I knew she thought I was crazy for mopping the floor again. She contended that people would like me for myself, not for the clothes I wore or the house I lived in. She also insisted that people wouldn't judge me by my daddy's drunken behavior. I desperately wanted to believe her, but deep down, I feared that our floor would never be clean enough for company to walk on. I would never be good enough to have friends, and worse yet, I feared I was doomed to dance with a bedpost for the rest of my life. I returned to the kitchen, picked up the mop, poured the diluted Texize on the floor, and set out to finish the job. Other Mama had a meatloaf baking in the oven. As cooks go, she was the best. "Sure smells good," I said. Other Mama ate up compliments. When she didn't say thank you, I glanced up from the mop I was gliding across the floor to see her standing by the kitchen table, her pretty features twisted in a pained expression. In one hand, she held the jelly glass with the purple flowers. With her other hand, she clutched her throat. Other Mama was of Scotch-Irish descent. Her short, white, wispy hair had once been the color of chestnuts, and they said she had had a fine figure. Now, at age 72, she had a figure like the Pillsbury Doughboy. "Damned if I must say it," she gasped. Other Mama never cursed or used the Lord's name in vain. "Other Mama," I said, "what did you do?" Oh no, you didn't. Mama, come quick," I screamed. "Other Mama drank Texize." If she died, it would be my fault. I pulled out a chair for Other Mama, and she sank down at the table. "Why did you do that?" I asked, fighting back tears. "I thought it was milk," she said with a short cough. "I told you it was Texize." Guess I didn't hear you," Other Mama said. "I'll get her something to make her vomit," Mama offered. Mama seemed calm for some reason. She was always the one who fell to pieces when somebody got hurt. The sight of blood made her feel faint. "What about a raw egg?" I asked. "That won't do it," Mama said, and I remembered she was right. Other Mama loved raw eggs. Sometimes she drank them in orange juice. The very thought of eating a raw egg in anything made me gag. I felt helpless and weak all over. I'm sorry, Other Mama. I didn't mean for you to get hurt. I only meant to clean." "Oh, hush," she said, pushing herself away from the table. "Where are you going?" I asked. "To the bathroom." Her voice seemed higher pitched and more quivery than usual. Was the stuff eating away her vocal cords? Mama was still looking in the refrigerator for something to make other Mama throw up when it occurred to me to call the drugstore. The druggist, Mr. Dinwiddie, would know what to do. He was a kind man, smoked a pipe, looked like a professor. Quicksand Drugs, Dinwiddie speaking. Sir, Mr. Dinwiddie, this is Nicky Bradshaw.
Yes.
We have an emergency.
Yes.
Other Mama, my grandmother, drank some Texize, and we don't know what to do.
How much did she drink?
1 or maybe 2 big swigs, I said. It was an accident.
Okay, calm down, Nicky. Was it full strength?
No, sir, I added water.
Good. Would you say there was more water than Texize in the glass?
Oh, yes, sir, lots more.
Twice as much?
Yeah, I think so, sir.
Where was the glass of Texize? He asked.
I took a deep breath. On the kitchen table, I said. I can explain, sir. She loves to eat, and sometimes, rather than waste food, she'll eat what's left on a plate or drink what's left in a glass. It's not a good habit, and we've told her. This time she decided to finish what she thought was a glass of...
Go get the bottle of Texize and read the label to me. I'll wait, Mr. Dinwiddie said.
I could hear the terrible retching sounds, and over them, Mama's sweet, patient voice coming from the bathroom. According to Plato, Socrates drank hemlock and died peacefully. First, his feet went numb, then his legs. When the poison hit his heart, oh God, if other Mama died, I would have to die too. I couldn't live without her, nor could I live with my guilt. So sitting for years on death row waiting to be fried in the electric chair wasn't an option. Like Mama, I feared the sight of blood, so cutting my wrist was out of the question. The law of retribution required an eye for an eye. I would hold my nose and drink what was left in the bottle of Texize, full strength. Given the circumstances, it was the only decent thing to do. I began reading.
Slow down, Mr. Dinwiddie said.
I could hear him puffing on his pipe. My throat felt dry, but I began again and attempted to pronounce each word clearly. Other Mama's life depended on it. Texize, pine oil disinfectant, banishes bad odors.
Just the ingredients, please.
Oh, yes, sir. Wait a minute. I was so frightened, it was hard to focus my eyes. Harmful if swallowed. No, I'm sorry. Here it is. Active ingredients. Steamed, distilled pine oil, 80%. Vegetable soap, 10%. Inert ingredients.
That's fine, Nicky.
Will she be okay, Mr. Dinwiddie?
Pinus palustris, he said.
Huh? He began to spell it out. After the Pinus, I stopped listening. Was he talking dirty? My face grew hot. I beg your pardon?
Pinus palustris, my dear. The common name of the longleaf pine. Longleaf pine is the state tree of North Carolina.
Oh, I said.
Has she regurgitated? He asked.
Yes, I believe so.
Good. Have her eat bread. I don't believe she drank enough to worry about or to have her stomach pumped. I think she'll be fine."
Oh, thank God. Are you sure?" I asked.
"Here's to the land of the longleaf pine," he began. "The summer land where the sun doth shine, where the weak grow strong and the strong grow great. Here's to down home, the old North State." "That's our state toast," Mr. Dinwiddie explained. "And yes, Nicky, I'm sure your grandmother will be fine."
Okay, thanks again." I waited to hear him hang up before I placed the receiver back on its hook. My face still felt warm. "What did he say?" Mama asked.
Other Mama, looking pale and somewhat shaken, followed her into the kitchen. I thought it best not to tell them about the toast to the pinus thing, so I said,
He wanted to know if she had vomited. And I said I thought so."
"I did," Other Mama said, sitting down at the table again. This time I sat down beside her. I gently placed my hand on her fleshy arm. Her skin felt cool, clammy.
"He said he doesn't think you drank enough to have your stomach pumped. You should be fine. He said to eat bread."
"I'll get it," Mama said.
"Just a couple slices,"
Other Mama said. As she ate, Mama and I exchanged glances for the first time. I knew what she was thinking, and she was right. My actions were careless. Regardless of Other Mama's bad habits, I had to be more careful.
"Nicky," Other Mama said between bites, "tell me, why in the name of goodness did you put Texize in a drinking glass?"
"Well, I wanted to use a smaller container. I found the glass under the sink and figured you used it for cleaning. Why did you drink out of it?"
"It looked like milk."
"But Other Mama, how can you drink from someone else's glass? That's disgusting."
"Let's settle down," Mama said. "Nicky, your girlfriends should be here any minute." She turned to Other Mama. "How do you feel?"
"Thirsty. I think I'd like a glass of milk," Other Mama said. Mama and I both burst out laughing. Other Mama joined in. Color slowly began returning to her face. The crunch of tires on the gravel in the driveway signaled the arrival of Nancy and Jill. I kissed Other Mama on the cheek and went to greet them at the front door. Maybe Other Mama was right. So what if the walls of our house were made of beaver board and the kitchen ceiling with the ugly patch job still sagged? My beloved Other Mama was alive. I opened the front door, eager to greet my friends.
I will cling to the old